Hey everybody, I'm Tommy, one of the co-founders of Release, and I'm going to do a pretty fun video today where I'm going to talk through how to get a Minecraft server up and running on the Release platform. So the first thing I wanted to talk about was we're going to use a repository in Git. Let me show you that real quick. So the repository we're going to use is called Awesome Release Docker Minecraft Server. Awesome Release is a really great place to go find a bunch of examples that work in Release kind of out of the box. And we got this Minecraft server example that you can use. So the first thing you want to do is fork or clone this repository so you have it in your account. Once it's in your account, then in Release, you'll be able to bring it up and follow along. So step one is to do that. So I'm going to show a little diagram of what this repository is going to create in Release. So this might look a little bit complicated, but I'll walk you through it. So first, obviously, everybody knows the Minecraft client. This is what you log into when you want to play the game. That connects to Minecraft servers over a TCP port 25565. And inside of Release, there's going to be a container, a Minecraft container, that listens on port 25565 so that we can talk to the Minecraft client. This container is also going to be able to communicate with a web administration tool. So one of the things that when you're running a Minecraft server, having a way to kind of control the server, ban your friends, change it from creative mode to survival mode, you can do that through a project that there's this Archon web administration website that we're also going to bring up inside of this application. So the Archon web admin site connects to the Archon web admin containers. There's two of them, one listening on port 4326, one listening on port 4327. Port 443 and the HTTPS protocol is how we're going to connect to that to get to the website. And then this also has WebSockets that we need to fire up on port 4327. Both of these containers are going to talk to Archon on the Minecraft service over the network, but just local to this environment over port 25575. So I walked you through all this because when we bring up the application, I'll refer back to this to kind of show you what we're doing as we go along. This is a little bit more of a complicated setup, but it's really great because you're going to end up with the ability to administer your Minecraft server from the web, so you don't have to have a console into it, and you can do all of the commands that you would want to do to manage the server. So that's the layout. That's how this is all going to work. So this repository, there's an example Docker Compose that we're going to use called Docker Compose with Archon. This is basically a mirror of what we just saw. So ports 25575, 25565 on Minecraft. Two Archon images are going to come up on port 4326 and 4327. And there's a few environment variables in here. We're going to set the max memory on the Minecraft server to 1 gig. There's a limit on the Release free plan of 2 gigs of memory on a container, so we want to make sure we have a little bit of room. There's a password that we need to set, a few passwords that we'll walk through when we set this up, but we'll walk through that as we go. So this is kind of a blueprint that kind of reflects that diagram that I showed you. And when Release creates the environment and application, we're going to use this to kick it off. The way you do that in Release is you create a .release.yaml file that tells us when we load this repository which Docker Compose file do you want to use. So we're going to use, in the examples directory, Docker Compose with Archon. Now, if you go back and look at that examples directory, there's tons of different examples. You can do Forge servers. You can do all sorts of different kinds of servers with these different Docker Compose files. You can play around with those, give it a try, but we're going to use this Docker Compose with Archon that will work pretty much out of the box. So once you've got this repository cloned or forked or copied, however you want to get it into your GitHub account, head over to releaseapp.io. So if we go to releaseapp.io on the homepage, There's a big blue button that you click to sign up. This will walk you through connecting your GitHub account to Release, and that's how you get going. Once you have created your account, you'll be on your kind of main dashboard. I've got a few apps up and running already, but your dashboard, there should be a Create New App button, and that's how you go. So we're going to click Create New App. We're now going to walk through the quick little setup here. So we're going to select that awesome Release Docker Minecraft server. If you don't see that in your drop-down menu, you can click on the Configure the Release app on GitHub button. This will bring up a GitHub. I'll just do it real quick. Click this button. You configure whichever repository you want us to have access to. Put in a password, and then you will tell us which repository or which repositories do you want to give Release access to. So if you only want to give it to the one, you select Docker Minecraft, whatever you want. You can give us all repositories or just a single repository if you want to do that. So let me get out of that. I've already given access, so it shows up here. We've detected that .release.yaml file. We've detected all of those services, as I talked about before. And then really all you got to do is give it a name. And this name is what you're going to use to kind of get to your Minecraft server. It gets used in your host names. And you can name it whatever you want, something memorable, hopefully. If you want to get... if you wanted this to run in your AWS account or you wanted custom domains, you can always upgrade. But for what we're doing, the starter plan on Release is perfectly fine. So we're going to generate the app template. So the first thing we do is we're going to create a template that talks about the entire environment. So we take that Docker Compose, we automatically generate this template, and we're going to make a couple of quick little edits here, and I'll jump back over to that server diagram to show you what we're going to do. Before I do that, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to up the container memory limit to 2 gigs, which is the limit on the free plan. But we need 2 gigs so that we have enough room to run this container, because the Minecraft server takes 1 gig, so we're giving ourselves a little bit of room. Before I make the next edits, I'm gonna bring up the diagram again just to show you what we're going to do next. So let me bring this up. So the networking the piece that we need to configure is inside of Release. We're using Kubernetes to run this, and there are 2 different kinds of ports that you can create: node ports and container ports. Container ports are for ports that connect locally. So this Archon service is going to be locally connecting to other containers, and so we need to make that a container port on 25575. And then because port 25565 is a TCP port, which we really want raw TCP to this, we're going to create this port comes up as a node port on an ELB inside of AWS, and so there's a couple of settings to do that. And these 2 ports, 4326 and 4327, are normal HTTPS and WebSocket ports, so those are going to come up on ALBs. So when I make these changes, you'll see me reflect that in this file real quick, and it just takes a second. So the first thing we're going to do is make sure the networking is set up correctly. So because the Minecraft service does not connect over HTTP or HTTPS, we're going to remove the Minecraft hostname from the main host names, which is where ALBs are created. So we can remove that one. We'll add it back in a second, but we're going to remove it from the ALB. And we're going to come down here into the Minecraft service, and you see by default we brought this up on 25575 as a node port and 25565 as a node port. If you remember what I just said, 25575 needs to be a container port because it's a local port that we just connect into this other container, so it doesn't need an external facing target port. And the node port, which is 25565, again, if we go back here, 25565 connect to the internet, but we need to make this an ELB. And the way that we do that is we tell Release that we want to do that by saying we want a load balancer on that port, and that's true. When you do that, we're automatically going to detect that we need to create an ELB to connect this to the internet, and automatically provisions that for you. So we're going to say load balancer is true, and then we're going to give it a host name. So let's just call this Xmas server, and I'm going to use a couple of variables that I know. This is environment ID and the domain And if you want more information on all of these things that I'm doing, docs.releaseapp.io, explains all of these things in greater detail. But this host name will now come up on Xmas Server. It'll be on an environment. This is kind of a unique ID for this environment, and it'll come up on releaseapp.io. So with those changes, the networking pieces are set up, and the application template is pretty much good to go without any other changes. So we have a container port on 255.7.5. We have a node port on 255.6.5. We've set up our host name, and we bumped the memory limit to 2 gigs. Let's go back, check the diagram, make sure all of that's right. Node port, container port, node ports. Let's go double check the Archon node ports real quick. If we go down to the Archon services, these are going to come up on node ports 4326, and Archon WS is going to come up on 4327, so that's good. And we have the ALB host names at the top of the file for Archon and Archon WS, so we're in good shape. So we're going to save and continue. That saves the application template. Okay, once the application template is created, we get a new version of that. We're on version 1, so we've started off on version 1. This version rolls anytime you make a change to the application config or any of these variables and extra configuration. So we do have a few environment variables that we need to set up, and it's passwords on how the Minecraft server is going to talk to all of the services. And I'll bring up the diagram again so that we can see what that looks like. So if I come into the diagram, let's take a quick look. I'll make it full screen. So we're going to set up a handful of passwords, and this gets a little bit confusing because there's a few passwords moving around, but with the diagram, I think it's a little bit easier. Archon is the main way we control this Minecraft server. We're going to create a password called Archon password, which is the password for these containers to remotely connect to this Minecraft service. So on the Minecraft container, that environment variable is called Archon password. On the Archon containers, it's called RWA Archon password. So we need to make sure these are set to the same value as this one. Now there's 2 other passwords. We want to make these the same because it's really the same service just on 2 containers. But this is the login, the password that you're going to use to log in, and that's called RWA password. So let's go add those environment variables, and then there's one more thing we'll do after that, and we should be good to go. All right, so we're going to go add those environment variables in. We detect from the Docker Compose file. If we go back and look at our Docker Compose file real quick, in examples, Archon, Docker Compose with Archon, there are a few environment variables that are already set. So the max memory, and I put this in here just to make it easy, like, hey, Archon password, which again is the password on the container. We're gonna want you to change. You're gonna want to change this so it's not something that we see in this video, so that it's custom to you. So I recommend changing Archon password. So let's do that first. So if we go into the file, we're gonna change Archon password to something. Set to something. I'm gonna actually just put it at this for now, and then I'll pause the video, come in and change these so you don't know what my passwords are. But for now, we'll just use, actually we'll just make this a little bit easier, just for reference while I'm doing this. So this is gonna be Archon password. And like we showed before, we need to set an environment variable called RWA Archon password. And this is gonna be value. And we're going to set this to Archon password. This needs to be the same so that this service can connect to this one. And then one other thing that you can do with the environment variables is set them to secret true, which will encrypt them in the database for better security. So we're going to do that up here too. So Archon password, secret true. All right, we need this exact thing on the Archon WS service. So let's add that. So now we have handled Archon password and Archon password to the Archon web admin. So all of these containers will be able to talk to each other with the appropriate passwords. We need to add one more password, which is the RWA key RWA password. So this is the password for the website administration tool. We're going to set this to website password. I'm going to change this That's not what it's actually going to be set to, but for the purposes of this video, that's what it's going to look like. So we'll copy that. And we also need that down here to be the same because it's the same container, same service, just two different containers. All right, so now we have all of our passwords set up appropriately. Okay, the last thing we have to do, and this is a bit of a nuance of this setup, is if we go back to our diagram, so we have all of our passwords taken care of. The last thing that we're going to do is we're going to tell the Archon service, let's see if we can get that to go away. We're going to tell the Archon service, there we go, it goes away, that, oh, that's fun. Let's get out of full screen mode. Okay, if we go, we need to tell the Archon service where the WebSocket URL is. And one of the things that's tricky about environments that come up on dynamic IP addresses, dynamic host names, is the actual URL that this Archon web service is going to come up on changes based on the ephemeral IP address that it comes, ephemeral host name that it comes up on. Release takes care of that by creating a host name for every service it brings up with the service underscore ingress host variable. So we're basically going to create a mapping to the RWA WebSocket URL SSL environment variable. And if you go look at the Archon web administration documentation, which I'll put inside of the blog post about this, this needs to be directed to which of the services is going to be the web service host. So we're going to use a pretty cool trick in Release to do that called mappings. So inside of Release, inside of your environment variable file, you can create a directive called mapping. And we'll put that in. And what this says is that map RWA WebSocket URL SSL to this dynamic ingress host variable whenever the environment comes up. So if this changes, we're automatically going to map that in so you don't have to make any changes to the code that you might have running. So this last piece is pretty important. It's required to make this Archon web service work. So you need to add this in, this mapping, so that whenever this comes up, we get the mapping correct. All right, so we have all of those set. We're going to save. Again, now we have a new version, version 2 of our configuration. And we're going to click Start, Build, and Deploy. So now Release is building those images, and it's going off and deploying them into the Release cloud, Release hosted cloud, which will run and host your Minecraft server. All of this is just laying down and deploying all of these services. So now we're doing the Minecraft service. You can click into that and see it running. You'll actually see the service come up. It comes up. Now we're deploying Archon. We're going to deploy the Archon web service. And then the last thing we do is a little health check to make sure that all the ports come up exactly the way we want them to. If there's any issues on any of these steps, you can click in, see exactly what it says. Hopefully that gives you enough information to diagnose what you did wrong, and then you can go back and fix it. So while that is coming up, I'm going to go over to my Minecraft client. So this will take a few minutes to come up. You log into Minecraft, click on multiplayer, and we're going to add a server. And that IP address, host name, we'll get in a second when this comes up. But we click Add Server. We'll get this set up. So we're going to come in and call this Release, or we'll just call it Xmas Server. And as soon as this comes up, we'll find the host name that we need. So I'll click pause, let this come up and jump back in 1 second. All right, services are all up. The health check is running. You click in here, you can see what the health check is doing. It's going off, checking all of the various things, and great, everything deployed successfully. So now we have an environment created that reflects what I showed in that diagram. We're going to jump into that environment now. A couple of details. Here are all the host names. This hostname Minecraft is the one that you're going to want to use in your Minecraft server address. So let's copy that, put that in over here. It copies HTTP when you copy it directly, but you don't need the HTTPS in front. So let's get rid of that. All right, let's before I click done, let's go down and make sure everything's up and running. So we're going to click into the Minecraft service. And if you've ever built a Minecraft server before, all of this stuff, it's preparing spawn areas, everything's up and running. So now this is listening, and we can close this out and click done. So we should see the Minecraft service. So we have a vanilla Minecraft server powered by Docker up and running. There's a couple other environment variables. You can add a message of the day. I didn't do that to change this field on that and customize this even further. If you look at the documentation for the Docker Minecraft server, there's tons of things you can do with it. So we have that server up and running. Let's join it. We're about to log in. So we've got our new world that we're a part of now coming up. All right, good. Now, we want to be able to administer this. So this Archon service is the one that we created in order to do that. So up here in the list of host names, we want to click on Archon. Now this is the URL that you can use to administer your service. And we now put in admin as the default that you use there. And we're going to pause real quick while I put this in so you can't see it. Hang on. Okay. Put your password in that you put in for RWA password, and we're authenticated in. All right, so now we're in the Archon Web Administration portal. Click on Minecraft from the servers that you're going to use, and you want to add a widget, and you want to add the console widget. So the console widget basically gives you Archon access over the web. So for instance, if I want to, I'll bring this up so we can see it. If I want to give myself OP access into the Minecraft server so I can manage things locally, I can do that. So let me put my username in there. So now we come back to the game. Hey, we made It's a Circus Dad a server operator. So now I have complete Archon control. My username does. You can do all of the commands that you could do from the operator commands from the web. I can now do them. And if you want to be able to ban players, do whatever you want, you can do that. Or if you want to just use this console to do the server administration, you can do that as well. So we've got the web administration tool up so we can administer the site. We've got the Minecraft server up and running. And now you're on your way. So again, the last thing to remember is use this Xmas or the Minecraft server IP address when you set up your server, Archon to get in and administer your site. And now, hopefully, over the holidays, you and your friends, your family, your kids can enjoy a free Minecraft server that you can manage over the web. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It was super cool to work on this, and I've got a bunch of kids and they love playing Minecraft, so we've loved having our own servers to play with. So enjoy, and if you have any questions, feel free to hit us up. You can send an email to hello@releaseapp.io, and we'd be more than happy to help you out. Thanks everybody, really appreciate it. Happy holidays.